All right, so for my book review, I read a book called Hacking Classroom Management. The author is Mike Roberts, and the subtitle is 10 Ideas to Help You Become the Type of Teacher They Make Movies About. And I don't know about you guys, but that sounds pretty good to me. I definitely wouldn't mind them making a movie about how awesome I am as a teacher. So, anyway, let's get right into it. Technical difficulties. Okay, so the book goes through the 10 ideas, and so here's just an overview of them. We'll go into more detail with each one as we go through the slideshow. So he calls them hacks, right? So anyway, we'll just read through them real fast. His first one is remember it's a classroom, not a boot camp. 2. Expect their best in and out of the classroom. 3. Take in a game, a play, or a concert. 4. Get 'em up and get 'em moving. 5. Walk their walk and talk their talk. 6. Let's get personal. 7. Reassess how you assess. 8. Email early, email often. 9. Fist bumps, high fives, and shout outs. And 10. Celebrations and games and field trips. Oh my. All right. So, throughout this book, you guys will actually really notice that a lot of the concepts are mostly talking about just creating a positive environment for the class, which is something that we talked about not too long ago. It was actually one of the discussions that I read. We read through the article about 7 positive things you can do to help manage your classroom and create a positive environment. And so you'll notice as we go through, a lot of these relate to that article about talking about how we can really engage the students and also be on a more personal level with them, how we can implement better rules or to have discussions with students about what rules we should make or shouldn't make. Anyway, and so on. You guys will realize that it's actually really similar. Okay, so hack number 1. Remember, it's a classroom, not boot camp. So the book, it goes through and talks a lot about starting off the year with no, and how when a teacher on the first day of class, they say no chewing gum, no drink or food, no running, no, all those obnoxious things, right? And it says like you shouldn't do that because that's just going to set the students up with everything's just a no. So why would I ask any other questions kind of thing? Anyway, it also talks about seating charts and how they're not necessary. Like, you shouldn't make a seating chart. Let the students sit where they want to sit so they're comfortable. And then if you need to make adjustments later, of course, do that. It also talks about asking to go to the bathroom, which is kind of a big deal. We talked about this in one of my other classes, but basically he says, like, if they need to go, like, just let them go. Maybe make a signal that they give you when they're leaving the room, and make sure you keep track, like, to make sure they're obviously not taking advantage of that opportunity, um, and that you're monitoring it still, but also let them have that freedom that they can go out when they need to, and you don't need to micromanage it. So another thing was be upbeat about the rules and procedures. Include the students, and then obviously adjust as you need to. If students are abusing the rules, obviously, like, you should adjust according to each class's needs. So number 2, expect their best in and out of the classroom. So this chapter talked a lot about building trust with your students and getting that relationship to the point where they'll feel comfortable in class and responding to questions and participating. Also, it talked a lot about making sure that you give feedback, and not just giving the feedback, but being prompt about it. Not taking weeks and weeks to hand back like papers with your thoughts written on them, but actually giving them feedback in a timely manner, which I also agree with and I think is very important. Essentially, this one was basically just treat them as a human being. Treat them as you'd want to be treated. It's pretty basic. Number 3, taking a game, a play, or a concert. This might seem obvious, but it's just connecting with your students on a higher level. So he was talking about how go to a student's extracurricular activity. So go to their game or go to their play if they play band or, are in orchestra, then go to one of their concerts. Just do something to go see them outside of the classroom and support them in those things because they'll feel pride in that. It says take your family, invite other staff members to come with you because then they can see the students doing it too. It might not be something that they were actually interested in, but now they are. And also it says, which is obvious, but when you're there, make it look like you're actually enjoying yourself. Don't just sit there and look like it's a painful experience for you. Actually go, get involved, have fun, and just getting to know your students by being invested in their lives outside of the classroom is so important. Being able to be like, hey, you made a great play in that game, or hey, your solo was just amazing. Like that can make students feel so important and just that they're being noticed. And that will definitely make them improve their work in the classroom. Number 4, get them up and get them moving. This is basically just saying like you got to get students up out of their seat because even if it's only a 45-minute period or a 90-minute period, it's a long time still for students to sit around and not be doing anything besides taking notes or whatever. So he recommended that have students write on the board when you can have those kinds of activities, or do turn and talks, which is just turning around in your seat and talking to your neighbor. You could do musical chairs, or what he calls a walk and talk, where you can partner up and walk around the halls of the school, or go outside and walk around the track, or walk around the school. Just anything to get them up and get them moving. And obviously set the parameters for that and go around and make sure the discussions are on topic and everything like that. Another option was standing desks, which I find really interesting. I think that might actually be something cool. But obviously not all schools can afford that, so that's also maybe a problem. Anyways, 5, walk their walk and talk their talk. This was just talking about making sure that you're up to date on what is new in technology especially, and just really focusing on social media because that is the majority of what our students are going to be up to. I mean, that's what I pull up in class when I get bored sometimes. I get on Facebook. It's just what we do. So making sure that you know those platforms and know how to use them and how to implement them in your classroom. He talked about how he shows YouTube videos sometimes in class, obviously, that are geared towards what they're learning about, and I think that that's great, and that is a great way to get their attention. Number 6, let's get personal. So this one was just talking about varying your teaching methods because not all students learn the same. And it's something we've talked a lot about in all of our teaching methods classes, obviously. But just giving them options. I really like how he explains it's great to give options for the final projects. Maybe some students work really great in groups, so you can have group projects. Or maybe some really just want to write a research paper, like let them do that. Or if they really want to just take a test, then that's great too. And just make sure after you do that, ask students what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, how you could make it better. Obviously, always look for ways to improve and get that feedback from your students as well. Number 7, reassess how you assess. Kind of similar to the first one, what I just talked about was taking another look at what kind of methods you're using. So for this, he went through like self-assessment, so letting students assess themselves, which is a great way to do it, and it's less work for you, but it also puts more on the students, and I think that can be a really good thing. It's showing that you trust them. Peer-reviewed self-assessment. So this one is the peers are just reviewing and making comments about what they said, not grading them in any way. So basically the peers make the comments, they hand it back to you, and then you assess yourself based off of their comments and obviously your own opinion as well on how you did. It was kind of cool. And just make sure that students know that it's okay to be wrong, and it's like there's always room for improvement, and it's okay, like that's how you learn. And then if you have any issues with students self-grading and giving themselves, too many points, obviously meet with them. The teacher always has the final say in these things. Hack 8, email early and email often. This is one I thought about but haven't really put a lot of thought into, but it is interesting. So send a beginning of your email, get the parents involved, let them know that you're invested in their child and their education, and also that you're just invested in them, in their success in life. And also make sure you introduce yourself. Send positive emails often. So instead of only sending emails when something went wrong, he's saying that you should send an email when your student, just behaves super well in class, or when they do something really nice for another student, or just anything that's positive that you could like spotlight the student on. So share it with the parents and also with other staff members, because that helps build other staff members' views of the students as well. And then also end of your emails where you email parents again, you wrap things up, all that kind of good stuff. Hack 9, fist bumps, high fives, and shout outs. He goes through and says, use the first 2 minutes of class to chat with students casually, switch it up every day. Just use it to get to know your students better. Greet them at the door as they walk in, and then use the last 2 minutes of class to recognize students who did well that day, or, who just helped a lot, or anything like that. Hack 10, last one, celebrations and games and field trips. Oh my. This one, basically, he just said have fun, and it can be scary to maybe, give students a little more rope, but play games, have fun, incorporate the curriculum still, go on field trips if you can fit it into your schedule, and have small celebrations. An example in high school was my psychology teacher would always make pancakes on test days. And it was just a way that he would ease our conscience a little bit, but it was also just really fun, and we really enjoyed it. Unique activity in the book was playing bingo once a week with students, and you incorporate personal things and school things. So you can incorporate a bingo board. They're supposed to keep track of it. Then you have boxes that are like for school assignments that you're supposed to be working on in that class, and then others that are more personal, like helping with your family, doing yard work, making your bed, anything like that. There's all kinds of ideas, but this will also really help students be engaged and also help them in the learning process. So to sum up, I really highly recommend this book to any teacher or people that are interested in teaching, that have been teaching for a long time. Just honestly, it was a great read. There's tons of good information in there, lots of good ideas that I never would have thought about myself. It just really made me think a lot more about like outside of the box ideas on how I can manage my classroom. It was pretty eye-opening. Some weaknesses maybe were that some of the ideas are a little harder to implement maybe, but also like you can work ways around it. You also need to formulate a lot of your own ideas. It's not like he gives you the exact solution, which I don't consider so much as a weakness, but some might. And so maybe just coming up with your own ideas, being creative, could be a little bit of a weakness. But overall, I think the book was great. I highly recommend it. It goes along really well with what we're learning in class, and I think that it was just awesome. So that is my book review. Thanks, guys.